So one of those lessons that we've learned and that we've heard, I'm sure, many times is treat and move your feet. Anybody heard that before? Yes, yes. Treat and move your feet. This month we're looking at that idea of move your feet. Now, if you're new to religious science, that phrase might be a little strange. What do we mean by treat? What are we talking about? Well, the word treat is a short way of saying treatment. And so again, if you're new to religious science or to New Thought, hearing that word treatment might be a little strange too. You might be wondering, well, what kind of treatment goes on here? Is it about how we treat each other? Somewhat. But when we say treat, as in treat and move your feet, we're talking about treatment, and the term comes from a spiritual mind treatment. And that's another way of saying affirmative prayer. Ernest Holmes and the other New Thought teachers looked at prayer, tried a whole lot of different ways of using prayer, and found that this was the most effective for them. And at that time, a lot of what was being treated for, what was being prayed about, was health-related things. So the word treatment comes out of the medical model for giving a treatment, only this treatment comes through our mind, through what it is we're thinking and how we're shifting our mind to bring about what it is we want to see in our life in the form of health in all areas, not just physical, but mental, spiritual health. So that's why we call it a spiritual mind treatment. Now that's all I'm going to say about affirmative prayer at this time, except that if you would like to understand what this is on a deeper level, feel free to take one of our classes and delve into how it works in your own life, or meet with a practitioner. We've got a form in the foyer there that has the list of practitioners. We have 2 more in the back. We have Cheryl here. Reverend RJ can do treatment work. I can do that for you. So take some time with us and have us take you through that process so you can understand what it means to have a spiritual mind treatment, to have an affirmative prayer. Part of what we're talking about is prayer that is a little different than maybe some of us grew up with. I know that I grew up originally, well, not originally, I went through a phase of seeing God as something outside of myself, that I was asking to bestow gifts upon me. And I had to be worthy, and I was trying to prove my worthiness and sort of begging to have what it was I wanted in my life. We call those beseeching prayers. So affirmative prayer is different in that we see ourselves working with Spirit, with God, as it moves through us to create what it is we'd like to see in our lives. And so when we do this, we have 5 steps that we teach that Ernest Holmes sort of came up with, or that we've come up with through reading what Ernest Holmes had to say. I call those the 5 training wheels, because they're really just a way of helping us get in alignment with what it is that we're trying to do in affirmative prayer. And it's a way of helping us more efficiently do affirmative prayer. I'm not going to go through all 5, but the 5th step is what? Release. Very good. We have a lot of people in here that already know those 5 steps. The 5th step is release. And so when we release, we're not talking about releasing stuff that no longer serves us. That's something we do higher up in the treatment process. When we do the 5th step as release, we're talking about releasing the whole prayer itself. We're letting our words go, we're letting our thoughts go, we're releasing any concern over it, and we're doing what some people call letting go and letting God. At that point, we're releasing it into the mind of God, we're releasing it into the universe, knowing that now that part of what will bring about manifestation is taking over. We've said our words, we've done our treatment work. So when we release then, where does the move your feet part come in? Once we've let it go. Well, often when we release, to me that's a step in faith. Release is letting it go in faith, knowing that this is about to take place, or it is already so in the mind of God, as we say. Now, I also go back in time sometimes, and one of my favorite books in the Christian scriptures is the book of James. And in there is the sentence, faith without work is dead. And I think that in religious science, treat and move your feet is the same sentence, just put in different terminology. Faith without work is dead. And so I think that when we say we are releasing, we then have to do the work. We have to move our feet. We have to apply to it what it is that starts putting into action and movement our belief that it is already so. We are acting as if. We are putting ourselves in motion toward that condition change that we have wanted to change. We are seeing that thing already manifested and acting as if that is so. So I'm going to use Reverend RJ as an example. Like I said, he reminded me when he came in and let me know that he would no longer be one of our regular speakers, that this was an answer to prayer, and prayer that I had participated in. So we had treated for this, and we had said that the perfect job was waiting for him, and that the perfect place for him to take his skills was opening up for him. Now, if that's all we did and just sat around and treated, and he sat home and waited for all these openings around the country to give him a phone call and say, okay, we're ready, come on down. Is that how it worked, Reverend RJ? No. What he had to do was, once the treatment was in place, that foundation was set, he had to fill out applications just like everybody else. He had to send them in. He had to follow up probably with some place and say, did you get my application? I am still very much interested. And then there was the interview process, whether in person or over the phone. And then there's following up after the interview. And then there's the agreement process and the negotiation process. And then there's the final acceptance of, okay, I'm going to step into this new position, this new job. And so that's the part that requires moving our feet. Even though the whole time treatment is taking place, we're aligning ourselves with Spirit and the knowledge of that truth. I've had some friends before who have said, I really want a partner. I want someone in my life to share my life with. But then they never want to get out. They always want to stay home. And I said, you know, you might want a partner, but I doubt very much they're just going to knock on your door and say, here I am. I'm ready, are you? It doesn't work that way. Moving your feet means you do the treatment and then you get yourself out there where you can meet that perfect person who's looking for you and is drawing you to them just as you are drawing them to you. Likewise with abundance. We can treat for abundance, but we have to optimize our opportunities to bring that abundance into our life. We can't just sit there and expect that the people that give us the sweepstakes or the lottery win are just going to show up at our door. And to me, that's not even the way we get abundance in our life anyway. We open up to what Spirit has in mind for us as a way to give in the world, and then that abundance starts to flow in. So as we're treating for these things that have to do with our own personal life, jobs, money, relationships, all of those key things, it makes sense when we say you have to treat and move your feet. But has anybody in here ever prayed for world peace? I know we have a world peace meditation that we do once a year here. So we're all treating for world peace at that time. Has anyone ever done a treatment for people in a war-torn zone or in a place where the weather has destroyed their community, as we've seen way too often here in our country in the last couple of years? Or has anybody seen somebody on the street that was perceived to be either homeless or poor and done an inward treatment in our own hearts that their life might improve or that they might gain the food that they need? So how then do we apply treat and move our feet to those kind of prayers, to that kind of treatment? How is it then that we actually can move our feet afterward? I'm going to ask the question in a little different way. Do you believe that you deserve to believe in your own true inner truth? Yes? Can anybody even stop you from doing that? No. Do you believe it is your God-given or Spirit-inspired right to celebrate or worship in the way that you choose and in the place that you choose? Do you believe that what we teach is a powerful and inspiring message? Do you believe that this philosophy uplifts the hearts of those who get it? And do you believe that we are good people doing God's work? In other words, that God's Spirit is expressing in and through us. And do you believe that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm, that we are the small action of the big action of Spirit moving in and through our lives? That we and Spirit are one, and that we are one with everyone. And furthermore, do you believe that if other people believe the same thing, that we would all be served by that and that we would experience a better life? Anybody's feet moving? So what does it sound like when we take our feet to the street? What does it sound like when our feet are moving? Now, there are a lot of people out there that believe that what they believe would make everybody else happier, and that the world would be a better place if we believed the way they did. So what makes us different than anybody else? Does anything? All paths to God. So as we pray, as we do our treatment work, as we pray for world peace, as we say in our global heart vision, a world that works for everyone, as we're holding that in our treatment work, as we're treating for people in other parts of the world where the war is in their front door, for us it's in our back door. But for the people that are experiencing it every day, as we treat for those people right here in Las Cruces that we see that are homeless in the tent city or that are walking up and down the streets and are hungry, as we do that, can we be that truth? Can we be our belief without making other people uncomfortable or wrong for being where they are? Yes. How do we do that? To me, that's the key, and that's the crux of what makes what we have very special to offer. Because when we go into places to bring what we have to offer, we bring it without saying you're wrong for being where you are. And we do that through love. We do that by loving people exactly where they are. We do that by bringing our true feeling of love and recognition of the love in them. And then we might serve a meal with love. Or we might bring them a hug or a kind word or a smile with love. Or we might actually give them a listening ear through our love. But I think what's important, and I know this through working in the deaf community especially, what we feel comes through our eyes. We can smile all we want, but if love isn't there, if real, alive, and true acceptance isn't there, it's going to show in our eyes. So when we bring love, we bring it through our eyes as we serve in whatever way we choose to. And we bring that acceptance as opposed to pity or judgment or, God forbid, disdain or disgust. So here at the Center for Spiritual Living, we've been doing a lot of prayer work. We've been getting together now as a prayer team in this center with the other people from the other centers and doing the treatment work for all of the people that put in prayer requests. And so you need to know that it's not just me and a few little practitioners. It's a whole bunch of us putting our energy and our love into that prayer work that's going on, and it's all three centers coming together to do that. And so now that we've been doing a lot of this treatment work, I think it's time that we all collectively move our feet and figure out what that looks like. So how do you see us bringing more love into Las Cruces or into the world? How do you see us shining our light as the Center for Spiritual Living and as the larger New Thought community? How do you see us taking this now out into the street? I'm going to read you some ideas that have come through some meditations that I've been doing, that have been coming through the visionings we've been doing as our Vision Core. And just to let you know, next week we will be visioning after the service, and you're welcome to join us and see how that process works. And also some of these ideas have just come from people coming up and telling me them. So just listen to them and see if any of this resonates in your heart. One idea is to take plates of food after the social hour out to the hungry, finding somebody along Main Street or out in the community and giving them a plate of food. To go as a group and volunteer to serve at the Community of Hope. I believe Wellspring has a regular date out there where they serve food to the community, and we could also join in that effort to serve people. To pass out Science of Mind magazines at the university and talk to students. Better yet, listen to students. To visit people in prisons or in the detention centers that we have right here in Las Cruces. To sit with teen parents and model parenting with love and how it is that they could bring this philosophy into their parenting. To help students with homework. At Unity right now, they have a tutoring program going on after school. We have a whole upstairs that could be used to do something for children after school if we wanted to, so there's another option. To visit people in nursing homes. To build some planters out front and plant a garden that anybody who walked by and needed food could pick out of or pull out of and eat from. Now, those are just a few ideas. Dwayne Gaines has this wonderful book called The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. And in here, when she's talking about bringing in prosperity, one of the important key things to do is to find our divine purpose and to move forward, move our feet with that divine purpose. And what she says is, if I want to fully realize my potential in this lifetime, the first thing that I had to do was look out upon my world, understanding that we all look out through our own consciousness and we see different worlds, and notice that all the things that we feel need healing or fixing or transforming. And then she lists some things that we might notice. And then she said, then my teacher instructed, is that after looking carefully at the world, we must pick out one thing that we feel needs transforming, something that would be fun for us to get involved in repairing, shifting, restructuring, fixing, and perfecting. Please note I use the word fun. This is not about martyrdom or great personal sacrifice. It is about focus, joy, and a sense of purposeful possible achievement. And she talks about how if we're on our divine purpose, we're looking for something that we can find joy in. So we have all these ideas, but before we go any further, I want to share another story with you. And this story came out of what used to be called Ode magazine. It's now called The Intelligent Optimist. And being into positive thinking, I love this magazine, so you might like it. There are always stories about how things are working in the world, what things people are doing to shift and make change in the world. And this story is by a woman who started the Mitrata Foundation in Nepal. And this is an organization that supports women and girls. And as she says, we thought we had the solutions, but the title to this is Don't Help Them. And what she's saying in this article is that we need to come about being of service from a different angle. She said, no one even thinks to ask the recipients of this charity for their opinions. Often they have the answers, but don't believe their opinions count. And so this is her story, and I really think you'll find this interesting. Our aha moment came while we were trekking. We were impressed by a long concrete staircase leading up the mountain to a village perched on a ridge. It certainly made it easier for us to navigate the steep path, but we couldn't help noticing the well-worn track in the dirt alongside the steps. We commented on this to the villagers when we reached the top, amid a chorus of nervous giggles in the gathering crowd. Apparently, a year before, a trekker had struggled up the hill, sliding on the slippery path. Concerned about the women carrying heavy jars of water on their heads, he had vowed to do something to help them. After the new steps were built, he patted himself on the back and headed home. The villagers tried to use the steps, but suffered many injuries as they lost their balance and fell. They were used to feeling their way up the dirt path with their bare feet, not having to look down and risk spilling the water that they were carrying. So they bypassed the steps and created a new path alongside them. When I asked them what might have been a better solution, they laughed. If he'd built a well at the top of the hill, the woman wouldn't need to carry water up the hill anyway. She concludes, we still have a lot of lessons to learn, but we'll do it working alongside rather than for the people of Nepal. Amen. Yeah, good story. And so as we think about what it is that might work for us, how it is we might try and move our feet, we need to think about how it is we want to interface with people that we're going to work with as opposed to working for. Now, when we talk about moving our feet, one of the other things is that we need to remember that there's actions that we need to take. And this is from last month's Science of Mind magazine. And I thought this was another perfect example. To make the impossible possible requires mind-heart harmony, clarity, planning, and right action. Just saying that I can That there is no such thing as impossible, or that God will make it happen is rarely enough. The carpenter asked, God, will you guide my hand and steady it so that I can drive each nail into the wood without bending it? God smiled and replied, yes, I would be glad to guide your hand, but first you need a hammer. So what is it? What are the tools that we need? And what is it that we need to do as we look for our divine purpose in how it is we want to be a greater light of service in this world? Now, you might have heard it said, give till it hurts. Now, I find that an interesting phrase because what I think Edwene Gaines is saying, and my understanding of giving, is that it doesn't hurt. Real giving doesn't hurt. And so there's a difference between giving that is real giving and giving that is codependent giving. And Jesse Jennings, who I've often said is one of my favorite writers, in the back of the Science of Mind magazine, has a section where he answers questions. And in this, he's answering the difference between the giving that we're called to do through our divine purpose and the giving that is codependent giving. So what he points out in here is that codependent giving hurts because it's not really giving. It's giving as a facade for gaining. It's giving as a facade for trying to control a situation or maintain control over a situation. It's giving with the idea that we gain recognition or even we become a savior. And we have this desire to become that. And so we expect this person to appreciate what it is we've done through our giving. The way Jesse sums it up here is he says, imagine this kind of helping then comes from a form of control. Imagine needing people to suffer or fail so that we could be the ones to save them because they would love us for doing that then. That's codependent giving. And usually that kind of giving, like I said, is what hurts. And that's not what we're talking about. Edwene Gaines summed up her divine purpose by saying, it just needs to bring you joy. Joy is a magnet. It draws more joy to it. And when you're feeling joy, you will naturally bring joy to other people, no matter what you're doing. And bringing joy to other people is always good. So the goal is to bring joy, to bring our light, to find something that we can do and give with a sense of real, live, and true giving. I'm not going to read anything out of this, but I want you to see this is a book called 7,000 Ways to Listen. I'm just working my way through it. But one of the chapters is about receiving and the importance of receiving. And what he says in there is real giving and receiving can't be separated. Now, when I was thinking about the codependent kind of giving, I thought, that should be called shopping. Because when we go to the store and we give the cashier money, we are definitely expecting something in return. We've already decided what it is we expect in return. That's shopping. So when we're giving with this idea of this return, we're not giving, we're shopping. We're not giving the cashier this money and saying, here, take this, go home and make sure you feed the kids and you have what you need. We don't go into stores and just hand out our money. We do it with an intent of receiving. So we're really shopping with that kind of giving. The kind of giving and receiving that we're talking about here is the kind that you can't separate. The two things happen at once. As you're giving, you're receiving that joy. As you're giving, you're feeling that good. You're getting something out of it already. So it doesn't matter if this person changes their life or decides to move into an apartment instead of sleeping in Tent City. That doesn't matter. What matters is the joy that we experience in being a light in their lives. And so if we decide to work with those in detention or in prisons, we don't do that from the point of view of these are sinners that need to be saved. We go in there saying, this is an expression of God itself. I am an expression of God itself. And we connect through that connection. And we might see that their flame is this big, and we just need to fan it. So that inside themselves, that flame can grow, and their own light can shine. And how that looks, we don't predetermine. We just go in there to help fan that flame. If we decide to work with teen moms and dads and/or dads and their children, we're not looking at them as illegitimate children born to sinning parents. Instead, we're looking at all of the players in that family as expressions of God. I don't believe there is any being, person, animal that is born illegitimate. That term has always boggled my mind. There is no illegitimacy in God's creation. And so when we meet with people knowing the truth of who they are, seeing the God light inside of them, and allowing that to come forward in their lives, that's the gift that we have to offer. And if we choose to work with children who need help after school in some way, whether it's homework or just having activities, we don't see them as ADHD or unteachable or stupid or whatever they might come to with us as labels that have been given to them by parents or educators. Again, we know the one mind of God is in every child, every human being, every person, and we can connect with that one mind and find out how they choose to learn, how they are best inspired, how we can be a bigger light for them. And if we choose to feed the hungry or work with people that are homeless, we get to remember that it is only human-created circumstance that makes the difference between their life and my life. Their creation is the same. We are one and the same. They are God expressing. And we connect through that knowledge. Excuse me, sorry. We are one and the same. We are expressing, and they are expressing God itself. So I think what we take that is unique into the world is not seeing through the eyes of judgment or the need to change, but through the eyes of bringing love, bringing light, and fanning the flame within each and every person that we meet, wherever we choose to put our service and our divine purpose. When I was in high school, there was a saying that was going around, and so many of you might have heard this as well. And it said that true love or marriage is not two people looking in each other's eyes, but rather two people looking the same direction, holding hands. Anybody remember hearing that? Well, I think here at the Center for Spiritual Living, we've been doing a lot of looking in each other's eyes. And I think that's okay. There's a time in every relationship where you need to do that. That helps to develop that love foundation. But the thing that's going to sustain any relationship is when you can turn eventually and look at a single focus together and hold hands and achieve that together. And so we've been doing a lot of that, looking in each other's eyes, learning to love each other, learning what each other needs and wants, uplifting each other. As RJ said, there's an amazing board all along. Since I've been here, we've had fun. We find the ability to laugh even in the hard times. And we now have an amazing prayer team that we do laugh. In fact, there's been some concern that if you hear us laughing in there, we're not taking our work seriously. That's not true. We love to pray. We love doing the prayer work, and we're having fun. That joy is present in everything that we're doing now at the center. So I think we're ready to stop looking in each other's eyes, and we're ready to hold hands and look toward a common vision. So as we treat for world peace, and as we treat to end hunger or to see happy and healthy families and people around us, as we treat for better educated children, for animals that are not treated with harm or are treated humanely, whatever it is that we choose, how do we move our feet? How do we do what Cheryl said in her reading of keeping our head in the clouds in our prayer work and our feet on the ground, moving? Now, if the list I read seemed overwhelming, remember we only need one purpose, one thing that we can focus on together. And we have all of us to do it with each other. What is it you would like to see us do as we hold hands as a community and face in a direction of service, some way that we are bringing our light and our love out into this community? I'm going to leave you with those questions. Please come to me if you have any thoughts and ideas, because we are ready to move our feet. I feel it, I know it, and this month we're focused on it, so it's going to happen. So I would like us to take this song that Ricky Byers wrote called Use Me. We're going to use that song to take us into prayer. Now, the words of her song can sound like we're talking to a God out there who's going to turn us into puppets. But I know that they teach religious science and new thought, and that's not what they're talking about. As we ask for God to move through us and use us, we are becoming the hands and feet of God. We are the actions. We are the way that we take this into the world. So let's sing Use Me in that light as we move into prayer. promise that one shall catch on. And we know that all that we need to do is shown to us. We do our treatment, we release, and we allow Spirit to move through our feet as we take this joy, this light, and this love through our divine purpose out into the world. And so we just go within and ponder that time when we last gave and received all in one, when we experienced true giving, the true giving that does not hurt, but uplifts and gives us joy. And so I just know that that type of giving is now ours to receive and to give through this center, as this center becomes a greater light and greater place for joy in this community. And so for this I give great thanks as I now release these words, knowing we are ready to move our feet, and so it is.